Hello, my name's Marie Miller. I am a Theta Healing Master Instructor, Rune Reader, Tarot Card Reader, General Sci-Fi Geek, and I work at House of Kellen. And so welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video under Spiritual Geek, where we're going to talk about spiritual topics, maybe some Star Trek. There'll be meditations later on. But the topic I wanted to come to you today with is the one of manifesting and how our talk about it in the spiritual community has gone so wrong. And over the years, as I'm learning about my privilege and doing my allyship, this is one of the things that seems to be just kind of not quite all there as far as like how we talk about it. And it is my journey with this topic in particular came when a good friend of mine posted on Facebook, maybe it's manifesting, maybe it's white privilege. And it kind of cut to the core. So I'm like, oh, I think he's right. And I started to realize, like, when we say, oh, you manifest your own reality, we aren't taking into consideration the totality of how reality works in all the different layers. So when we talk about manifesting, I always break it down into three components. When you're going to manifest anything, the first thing is, you ask the universe. And there's so many spiritual teachers and leaders out there who are really good at leading you through this first part. Like, all you have to do is ask, right? And that's true, but many people have blocking beliefs. So the next thing you need to do is do some clearing. And that's one of the reasons why I really love Theta Healing, is because it's really effective at helping clearing away those blocks to it. And the third step is, of course, doing. And that's really just about like going on the internet and figuring out like what's my next steps and asking a friend and like actually taking the actions to move towards that. And so one of the ways that we get really hung up on that is on number two, is in the clearing and recognizing that each one of us is going to have different blocks based on the reality that we were born into. Because, there is one big global reality that we're all sharing, and we've all contributed a little bit to that, and so have all of our ancestors. Just like for the reality of the United States right now and what we're living in, the last 400 years of all these different groups of people putting their input into it have created a reality where we have a president who's helping us show all the flaws that are going on right now within us. And it's actually helping us realize like where we can change some of our belief systems. And then each state has its own reality too. And it's to the point where when I'm on a road trip and I cross the state line, I can actually feel the shift in the belief system from one state to another, right? And then once you get inside of that, you have deeper realities. But just to touch on some of the collective consciousness and shared realities that we all have. And for those of you who aren't familiar with collective consciousness, that is the shared reality or the collection, that we all believe together. So belief that I definitely got from living in Ohio, Central Ohio, and going to a pretty much 99% white school in the suburbs. A lot of us who graduated from there came away with this belief that we actually live in a post-racist society and that racism isn't actually an issue here. And that is something that's pretty common in this part of the country. Not everyone has it. And of course, if you live in Columbus versus Delaware, it might be a little bit different. But that was definitely something that I remember feeling when I first left Ohio and that I had to work through. Another collective consciousness belief is in Southern California, when you live there and you're going away, your friends are all going to say, oh my gosh, you're leaving, you're not going to be able to get any real Mexican food. So Southern California has this collective consciousness belief that inside the United States, they have real Mexican food. And that's like an example of a less harmful collective consciousness belief. So we each have these layers and layers of beliefs that come from the different groups and the different layers of reality. And then to go even smaller, you have your collective consciousness state, and then each city has its own identity, its own beliefs that they have, its own belief system. An example of how a collective consciousness belief can affect a city is if any of you have been to New Orleans and you go to the square and you're getting tarot card readings, they always have to ask for a donation instead of a payment. And that's because the collective consciousness belief that it's not right to take money for those sort of things or to get paid for it actually became a law so that you can only accept donations for healing. And that's one thing, is our, our collective conscious beliefs get written into laws. And then to go even further, so you've got the world, you've got the United States, like all of us building this reality together, and then you have the states building a reality, and the cities, and then each family builds its own reality based on the experiences they've been throughout the different generations. So in my family, I come from a long line of like priests and farmers, so our reality has always been built on like hard work and determination, and everything's going to be fine, and that we're always going to have enough. And I was also raised with the belief that the world is safe and easy to be in, and as long as I am honest and nice and true, that I'll always be treated well. And that's not the reality that everyone was born into. And so when we talk about manifesting, you want to make sure, as spiritual leaders and as teachers, that you're acknowledging that we're all born into different realities, and we're coming from, we have these different benefits or detriments based on our genealogy and what's come through our genes and the beliefs that we're born with. And so I do think we need to always take that extra step, instead of just being like, why did you create this reality? Which is pretty harsh. Like, no one's born, no one chooses to be born into a reality that's going to be harsh on their soul. We're all born into this reality. We're born in different parts of it, which also means that we can each together help recreate this reality to be kinder to everyone inside of it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the different layers of reality. And then as spiritual teachers, we do need to make sure that we're taking time to explore all the different layers of reality, and how can we help other people come into the realities that we've been blessed to enjoy. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm also going to be putting out a reading, both tarot and rune, for the month of July, and I hope you all have a blessed day. So please click like and subscribe. All right.